Yeah, with that, we are going to go down to the feature bench area for one final time this weekend. It is time for our grand finals of Regional Qualifier Atlanta. These players have well and truly already qualified for this regional. They've already won their best ofs for their respective legends. So there's just one last thing to do, and that's hand out those prizes there. Blade of the Ruin King playmat, beautiful Blade of the Ruin King card, and of course the thing that everybody really wants for themselves, a nice shiny trophy.
You know, I will admit that there are two things that make me really excited when I'm in any sort of competition. It is a trophy or a novelty oversized check. I am a sucker for those. If I ever win either of them and I can't fit it in my flight home, I would mail it home. I just love novelty oversized checks and shiny trophies. But these players, there's something that I want to point out going into this. It will be something to watch because during the winter interview, I think Prismaticism touched on something that is often overlooked in events like this. He's tired.
Yep.
It's been a long weekend.
It
We've been
has.
through 15 rounds of Riftbound. And now they still have to play for the highest stakes of both of their Riftbound careers.
Yep, we had 8 rounds of Swiss yesterday. That finished at 10 p.m. We're starting game 1. And what time is it? That's 10 p.m. local time, Chama. We are in for a long one, but also a good one here. The finals are kicking off with Challenger TCG's Koko Lopez off with a Gem Jammer.
And we're going to have Zon Warrens on one side, Seed of Power on the other. Again, Koko being the first seed, had the option, chose to go first.
Good choice.
It is a great choice. Meanwhile, the other side, Prismaticism here, opens with a stacked deck, possibly trying to find a hopeful, because that's traditionally the most powerful opener you can have when you're going second, is to trigger that Legion off of a stacked deck.
Yep, always nice to find yourself a 2-drop to play in this spot when you are going second, and stacked deck does help you do that. And of course, even better if it's a super powered one, and it is just Traveling Merchant, still pretty good, and does reawaken, re-ready those runes. Don't worry, did manage to actually pay cost for the Merchant, but Annie's Legend ability unfortunately doesn't work twice, despite the 2 best of Annies sitting in/near the Legend Zone for Prismat, but Gem Jammer going to roll on over to the Zone Warrens, get some of that filtering going, and get the first point on the board. As Koko, I assume, is going out for a teammate, because perhaps forgot something that he needs. I don't think it's something game urgent, we can say, but perhaps a trinket of sorts to watch over this, as Kaiser Survivor going to be the follow-up play here.
Yeah, I suspect it's probably a notepad or something for keeping track of the score, because you see that die there instead. He did call for it when he went to the battlefield. I like the Conquer of Zon Warrens first as opposed to the Seed of Power, because it means you're going to have to expend additional resources if you want to send the Merchant there and get a double trigger.
You said it's a long day. Did we forget to trigger Zone Warrens again? Is that the second time I caught that on camera? Am I the Zone Warrens person that always finds it?
You are the Zon Police Force, which I didn't even know they had that in Zon.
It's true. It's supposed to be on Lawless Underground.
Thing, but you apparently are it.
All right, well, accelerated Kaiser Survivor looking a little bit better in this situation. Going to move over. Also conquer the Warrens, get a point, get a discard, get a draw, and get a draw from Kaiser Survivor as well for conquering. As Traveling Merchant also going to do a bit more filtering and another card draw. In fact, basically the same turn on either side, just stitching a few different effects together here.
Yeah, this is actually beautiful for Prismaticism. Because of ordering, you can have that draw on the Kaiser first, then the Warrens trigger, so you have more options. On the other side, you have, of course, the Merchant and the Seed of Power. Similar openers for both players. Started with a 2-drop into a Kaiser. Prismaticism gets a little bit of an advantage because of the extra rune of going second, so it was able to accelerate that Kaiser, but Koko now sends his own over to the Seed of Power.
And I really like this. I was going to say Flash is one of those things that is just such a nice spell. It is really the marquee spell of this deck. Makes sense. It was in the Annie Proving Grounds deck, and Prismaticism is parting Annie. Not just because you can protect the Merchant, but you can just take both units back, and you definitely want to protect this Kaiser.
Yeah, and not only do you protect your units, but the Merchant is going to trigger again. So we saw that discard of the Hard Bargain to draw yet another card. And the sheer number of cards that Prismaticism has already seen this early in the game is wild, because of both Zon Warrens, Seed of Power, and the Merchant, and the Kaiser.
Yeah, it's 5 cards already in the trash. Shame he's not playing Rosses like the last time he was here in a North American Regional Qualifier, because it would be discounted in a hurry at this rate, as the fight for Kaiser Survivor continues. Priz protects their first one, and Koko Lopez Lining things up, as you mentioned, the champion of our Swiss, the first seed in this top 8. It is actually first versus second, I just noticed.
Yeah.
Two very dominant players throughout the regular rounds and now meeting in the finals. Not something that happens all that often, to be honest, in card game tournaments, but perhaps a fitting end to this regional qualifier.
Yeah, this is, again, almost like it was written from a script. You have the number 1 versus the number 2. They met at the end of Swiss, but chose to intentionally draw to secure the top 8. So it's their first official face-off. Neither one has won. They both have very similar yet very different stories. Prismaticism decorated but has not won the big one. Koko, this is his first shot at winning anything because of first appearance in the top 8. And so both want to kind of either start their legacy off or cement theirs as the best player in the world.
Yeah, certainly on a team that is cooking at Riftbound events for what it's worth. Colin also
Yes.
on Challenger TCG, made their second top con on set this weekend after top 4 in Las Vegas. So certainly a team that seems to know what they're doing when it comes to Riftbound, but Traveling Merchant going to roll on in. It's 2 points apiece, but perhaps not for too much longer, as first Forerunner was also the reinforced at the seat of power. We saw this time and time again on Priz's side, and when you are going first and get to 6 runes before your opponent, you get to be the one to put the first Forerunner down, which also feels pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, again, Diwali said earlier in the weekend, Ferris Forerunner is potentially the best unit in the game, and they thought that Prismaticism had the best Forerunner deck overall, but here we're seeing Koko Lopez deploy one first because of, again, having that first shot at 6 runes. I like the deploy as a reinforce to where the Kaisa is, because it's going to make it that much more difficult to get enough might on that site to deal with either. However, there is an answer to that in the form of Rebuke, which just so happens to be the only card played more often than for a Ferris Forerunner on the weekend.
And there we go, Rebuke, Longsword, and Swing On In is going to be the reason Priz's Kaisa wins the combat over on the seat of power. Actually should draw a card as well, thanks to the Traveling Merchant also getting points. And I was going to say, the way that we've seen Prismaticism play this matchup, we've seen him play Draven on stream at least once before this event. It seems to be get ahead and stay ahead, right? As soon as Annie grabs the tempo lead and grabs the race in points, it does seem to be that Priz is able to find a way to keep it, because Annie's just a little bit faster than Draven, who might be arguably a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, and the final play for that turn for Prismaticism was developing that Noxus Hopeful in the base, and then readying the 2 runes once again because of the Annie Legend ability. So right now, Prismaticism has a strong tempo lead, has more board presence, has more points. However, Koko Lopez does have more runes. There's been a lot of recycling on Prismaticism's side. That might open an opportunity for Koko to develop more per turn and kind of take a development turn, as we've talked about, and then use that to try to catch up. This Rek'Sai is a great way to do that because it has Accelerate, and we see that Accelerate cost paid for, followed by a Cleave.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to take a turn off to develop. Can actually just go right now, thanks to the Accelerate that Rek'Sai Breacher has, a card that we've heard quite a number of hours ago at this point, sold out at all the dealers here in the venue. So a very popular card indeed. And going to roll on over, try and fight. But there's the flash once again. Always 2 runes available here for Prismaticism. Is there a hard bargain on the other side, though? That's the question, because that is one of the ways you can stop this very powerful engine. And there it is, countering that flash and finally killing off the Kaisa.
Yeah, that is a beautiful answer on the side of Koko Lopez for the flash. The first one was successful. This second one, not so much. Not only would that have saved the Kaisa, but likely also targeting the Merchant, which would have resulted in yet another trigger on that spot as well. And as you have pointed out, Prismaticism's trash is full. No, this is not a Miracle deck. There's no Rasas, but because of the unit and battlefield combination of this game 1, Prismaticism has just been rifling through this deck.
So one hidden card here. One of the things that I guess is good is that Prismaticism is still ahead in points and is still on pace to win by 2s if they can score yet another time. And that means getting through this hidden card and this Rek'Sai in the top battlefield and then Seat of Power, which if you do get, by the way, will actually mean, assuming the Traveling Merchant stays put where it is on the Zone Wines, you get to draw a card as well. So a lot of value to be gained from a few different axes here at this point in the game, but you can see kind of the first deep think really beginning, because Prismaticism would love to move that Hopeling with the Longsword and try and conquer, and right now, 6 might to only the 3 that Rek'Sai has on defense would be pretty good, but of course you must contend with what is that hidden card. Is it a Tide Turner? That would be Not quite a trade, actually, but it could be a switcheroo, and that certainly would be a good thing for Koko Lopez.
Absolutely. The switcheroo has been fantastic, and players have had to play around it all weekend long. We've seen it absolutely just blow out certain turns. We've seen it result in victories. You have to respect it. So I think we are still going to see Prismaticism say, listen, I suspect that's a switcheroo, but I have an answer, and the answer is a kitty named Rengar.
Rengar doing so much work for Prismaticism in this top 8. I was about to regale you with the tale of the fact that switcheroo actually won Sam D. Sherman the last regional qualifier in North America, but Rengar might be the talk of the town now. 5 might on offense thanks to Assault 2. Merchant going to move back, draw another card. Cedar Power draws a card. The card filtering is massive. Ferris Forerunner is hitting the bin. That is a show of intent from Prismaticism.
Yeah, that's saying, one, I'm trying to win in the short term, but also I don't expect this game to go to a position where I have 6 runes available. Prismaticism, a lot of recycling early on, trading those runes for those point gains. Again, Koko Lopez has a lot more runes available, but less board presence. It's a similar position to what Koko was in just a moment ago, and Prismaticism, like you said, is saying, hey, I don't intend for this to be relevant anymore.
Yep, Annie can certainly play to out-tempo Draven in spots like this, and that is exactly what Prismaticism has done. That Anti-Legend ability means you can develop and still leave things available to interact and try and keep the pace up on your opponent. So Stack Deck is going to go digging for answers here for our Draven player, who is currently trailing 3 points, and as it stands, between the Conqueror of the Traveling Merchant that could happen on the other turn down the bottom side for Zorn Warrens, and the hold currently being threatened by Rengar and Draven's overzealous fan, Prismaticism is set to win next turn. So what can Draven do about it?
Yeah, Koko has to have an answer for, at a minimum, the stuff on the Seat of Power. Likely would like to be able to either have an answer as well for a move into the Zorn Warrens, or maybe something to target the backline. But the reality is, the stacked deck opener says, I'm likely searching for an answer. I was just about to highlight Falling Star is probably the desired target.
That one is very, very good. Currently also not... can't get got by Hard Bargain either, still has 4 runes available, and in fact can't even be repeated. And most importantly, I don't believe this can be flashed. So
no.
Falling Star is going to take out 2, leave the Overzealous fan on the battlefield, Tide Turner Overzealous fan deployed, so is going to give Prismaticism point number 7. A flash would win here.
Well, so would a Kaisa, the Tide Turner.
And so would Tide Turner.
Will do it as well. I was going to say the Red Rek'Sai would have done it. So there were a lot of outs there for Prismaticism to close that out. But I think Koko should be commended for recognizing the Falling Star needed to be the play in that situation. Play the stack deck, get the information, and just hope that Prismaticism bricks. Again, you got to play to your outs. Even if you think they have it, go through the motions, especially in the finals.
And that's the thing, when Annie grabs tempo, these are the kind of games you can have. I'll remind you, we have watched a lot of Riftbound so far in the top 8 and overall this weekend, and we've had a lot of 3-game sets. In fact, I think the only one that didn't go was one of the quarterfinals. I believe Aurelia may have won her matchup 2-0. But we've had a lot of Prismaticism sets go to 90 minutes. That game one finished in just above 10.
Well, both of these players, I'm sure, have a lot of reps on this particular matchup. Koko very clearly came into this event with the intent to win, was playing Draven, felt it was the best deck in the format, did likely expect to at least see some form of Annie. Again, it has performed pretty well here in North America. You expect players like Prismaticism to show up on the other end of the spectrum. You know that Prismaticism has put in the reps against Draven, so both of these players, I think, are okay with moving through this a little bit faster in terms of pacing, whereas the previous Prismaticism sets, you had a banger against Colin, which is probably not as familiar of a matchup because it's set, and then you also had against your literal teammates, so you know every move, and so you got to slow it down.
In a very grindy matchup against Alan ZQ's Ezreal, of course. Prismaticism, deep breath to start game number 2. Reminder, Koko Lopez was on the play that game as well. That is one of the benefits of being the first seed. So serve broken in a manner of speaking. Prismaticism going to mulligan 2. Koko seems to like the hand right now.
And this time around for the battlefields, Zorn Warren's back again, this time deployed from Prismaticism. Koko Lopez opts for Targon's Peak, so Only one of these battlefields will draw cards. We probably won't see the rifling we saw in Game 1, but still very relevant effects. We have seen in other matches Prismaticism utilize Targon's Peak to pair with the Anti-Legend ability and just ready 4 runes.
Yeah, True Runes is so good in Annie because, again, lots of things. Hard Bargain can be... Okay, never mind. We'll talk about that later because Kaiser Survivor is a very good follow-up here, and I like what Koko Lopez is doing here. Saying, again, a game of twos is really what we're playing in this back-and-forth kind of tempo-y matchup where we want to grab points appropriately. Rushing off to Conquer right now doesn't really accomplish much. I guess Targon's Peak is maybe an attractive place to go to be able to ready 2 runes, but just putting this Kaiser developing and saying, go ahead, I'll take the 2 points next turn. I don't need to take 1 right now.
Yeah, I like the patience from Koko. I think this also might have just been a check for, is Prismaticism really on a slow start, or were they trying to bait me with something like a Rengar with the 3 runes up? And of course, now we see the Rengar just naturally developed. Prismaticism recognizing I want to be in a position to potentially counter-attack after Koko goes into the battlefields this turn.
Yeah, Rengar significantly better on offense versus defense, although can be utilized in both situations. And Kaiser would really love to go just about anywhere where she can get a conquer. Zorn Warrens feels like a pretty good one. Gets a draw, then gets a discard and a draw after that. Thanks for conquering Zorn Warrens. So a lot of value gleaned from this Kaiser, and not going to miss it this time. Zorn Warrens now being considered. What does Koko Lopez want to discard? Filtering through a couple more cards, seeing deeper into their deck, and Blood Rush is going to hit the trash. Kind of a fun one. Don't see that in every Draven deck.
Yeah, you don't see it in every Draven deck, but I do like that as the discard here. That's the sort of thing that you might want to get late game when you need that extra oomph to push over top of a battlefield. This early on, when you're just trying to establish point tempo, it's not going to be nearly as relevant.
I'm so curious, by the way, if these like little powerful units keep happening. I wonder like at what point do Annie start being like, you know what, maybe a Hextech Raid needs to come back into this deck, because that would be a way to maybe break the point tempo at this point. But instead, it's Overzealous Fan occupying 2 different battlefields and 2 points to 0 in favor of Draven. So Koko Lopez feeling real good about how this game is going first once again. But to 6 runes, we know what usually happens when that threshold is hit. But how do we break through these battlefields? It's 6 might to 2 on the top and bottom respectively. But again, the big problem really being these overzealous fans just always want to push you away from their idol.
Yeah, that's right. It is the League of Draven after all, and Draven has fans everywhere. But it does look like it's just going to be a sacrifice of the 1 as the Rengar goes into Targon's Peak. Koko pushes the Rengar back. Tide Turner goes back in. Prismaticism, of course, reinforces, hit the Magic 6.
I almost didn't say anything.
With the Fervent Forerunner.
And actually going down to the Peak, I like going down not only because it's the softer of the 2 battlefields, but because, again, can't reconquer for Koko Lopez on the Zorn Warrens, so can't get that effect again. But readying 4 runes thanks to Annie's Legend ability. And we talked about how good 2 runes are. Flash, Hard Bargain, all these other different things you can use. With 4, the entire reaction suite is basically open now for Prismaticism.
Exactly. You can do 2 of the 2 energy options. You also have cards like Rengar available if you want to play it defensively, which, again, does not happen often, but we have seen it occur this weekend, and it was very impactful when it mattered. So once you get up to 4, kind of the world is your oyster if you're Prismaticism.
And I think at this point, unless Koko Lopez has a really efficient way to kind of break through these, and it might be tough here. It looks like Tide Turner going to get traded off. As Gem Jam is running in, Prismaticism says, yeah, you got it. Gem Jam are going to go down. I think we're now going to have a game where it's not going to be quite so easy to get 2 points a turn for either player. It's going to be 1 at a time as plays set up, and Beast below. Huge tech, I assume, out of the board. That is going to bring a unit back, but more importantly, effectively rebuke the Ferris Forerunner while putting 8 might on the board.
Yeah, this is a card that we have seen this weekend. A few of the players have decided to run sometimes 1 in the main, sometimes them in the board as well, because as you pointed out, it's like playing a Rebuke, but you also get 8 might on top of it. This is very impactful because it put the Forerunner back into Prismaticism's hand. Again, very strong if you're expecting to see a field full of Forerunners. But 8 might is also incredibly difficult to take down.
And it looks like in reactions with Beast Bellow's bounce on the chain, Rengar was played in reactions back to that battlefield. So there was a Ferris Forerunner there. It's no longer there, but there's now a Rengar occupying that, which is actually pretty nice as far as stealing a point away here.
Yeah, just trying to maintain that hold point, because every point is going to matter if Prismaticism plays from behind due to that Beast below. That Kaisa there is also going to make sure that Koko Lopez is not short on cards anytime soon. There's also potentially the additional filtering because Prismaticism can't do much to stop a move into the Zone Warrens unless they want to commit a card from hand.
It's kind of nice to play a little more in base, especially when you're ahead as Draven in the spot, because it's a much better way to dodge Rek'Sais and Rengars, who really want to be attacking into you with that assault. So when you deny them that opportunity by just leaving the battlefields open, well, yeah, they might get some points, but you're already ahead in that race, so maybe you don't mind so much. Although it is going to be evened up in short order, potentially, as point number 2 now on the board for Prismat, and it's going to be point number 3 as the other Rengar goes up top.
So this is going to provide the filter, the tying point.
And the Forerunner.
We're going to see the Forerunner come back. It was the plan before. It's still the plan now. At some point, you're going to need to likely throw enough might into that Beast below to get rid of it. Something like a Forerunner plus a Cleave could get the job done. But either way, you need to have enough might on the board to even start thinking about it.
Your hands are stacked. I did just spy something that we've seen all weekend long. Answer Forerunner. It is, in fact, Rebuke. So the last 2 Chaos Runes are going to be recycled, but Flash is going to happen. Hard bargain. Going to shut that down again. How many times have we seen that little interaction? As Kaisa wanting to conquer in. It's only 3 might. The math is being done, but Koko Lopez is making absolutely sure before running into the Rengar.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk lately about Rebuke. Obviously, most popular card all weekend long. However, Hard Bargain has really shown up in clutch moments so many times over the course of this tournament. And I think that it is going to be the kind of card where folks start game planning specifically for it the same way that you do against Calm. In Calm matchups, you're saying, I know that they likely have a Defy, what do I do? Or maybe it's a not so fast. With Chaos lately, I feel like most players know that Hard Bargain is potentially there, but it's not always respected in the same breath as the other 2.
Yeah, they don't think about it maybe as automatically as those cards that you mentioned. And the thing about adding is like it's great to ready those 2 runes and be able to have a very powerful 2 energy spell like Flash to play. Unfortunately, when you don't have 4, you get hard bargained a lot in spots like that. So it's just kind of a risk you have to take for wanting to develop more, because if you just leave your energy open, your runes up, you're just probably not developing. And that's also a race you can't really afford to get into. So Rengar going to roll on in. Fan's going to push that back, protect the Kaisa. And now Ride the Wind is going to roll on in. That's going to be 5 might to 4. And it's 2 runes available thanks to the Targon's Peak here. So what does Koko Lopez have? Action window there. Spinning Axe, pretty good bit of equipment. +3 now for the Kaisa, winning this combat 7-5.
And Prismaticism now has
Ooh.
the Rebuke of his own. The first one, of course, hard bargained, but this time will get the job done. This is going to result in a successful Conquer. We'll be able to ready all of the runes at the end of the turn because of both the Anti-Legend and now the Peak Conquer. I think this Rengar is probably going to go home simply because there is the Hopeful in the base. And that just naturally goes over it because Rengar naturally Assault is on offense.
Yep, Spinning Axe goes away as well. Is temporary if it's unattached at its control beginning phase, so that Rebuke doing a little bit of extra, getting a bit of extra value out of the deal. Again, costly, having to recycle 2 Chaos Runes or Prismaticism. Losing the resource race, but trying to keep up on points and still falling behind in that magic as well. This big old beast below at the Zone Warrens is somewhat problematic, and Koko Lopez gets to the critical juncture of 6 points, puts down 2 units and says, what do you have? I am winning. Make him have it.
Yeah, I was just about to highlight that Koko was the first to that magic number 6, properly recognizes it, develops as much might as possible in the base, passes, and
there's no way out.
Yeah, Prismaticism just takes a look at the total might and says, there's nothing that I can do that's going to stop that. And they're going to go to game 3.
And I kind of love
the finals.
I love that we're here at this point, not just because we get maximum number of games of Riftbound, but I feel like we've seen both decks do their thing. Annie in game 1 got ahead and stayed ahead the entire game. It was not close per the point total by the end of that one. But Draven kind of showing one of the reasons it's such a powerful deck, especially in this kind of matchup. Annie's units are a little smaller. She's very tricksy. She's constantly kind of tempoing you by readying runes. But Draven's units, card quality-wise, they're just so much bigger, so much better once they have time to develop. And you saw the might at the end of that board. Like, Prismaticism was never going to have a board that big.
Well, might have if a Forerunner could have stuck to the table.
That's true.
But the successful not only Rebukes, but Beast below was a real difference maker in that game too. As we go into this game 3, I can't help but point out that both players won when they were on going second on the 2 runes.
That's true.
Or 3 runes, excuse me.
Both a broken serve, and now it's Annie's turn to go first. That means our first to develop an overzealous fan. Usually good news for a deck that wants to be a little bit faster than Draven overall in this matchup, and just in general in this metagame. Players have talked often about how much they do love going first. It is an arena's greatest game as well, so we are speeding things up. Oh, never mind. That's our sprint line. It's a regular game, everybody. Don't worry about it. Little old.
It's a regular game with extra steps.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of seasoning on it.
Exactly. We're playing to 9, but everyone's got 1. It's basically like playing to 8. Don't worry about it. Don't freak out, though, when we get into the end of the game and someone gets to 8 points. It will not end.
Most of these players have almost optimal openers. We have the fan on the side of Prismaticism. When you're going second, stack deck into Noxus Hopeful is as good as you can hope for. That's going to result in the Kaisa and then pass on Prismaticism side, because again, we've seen that these players are not eager to just run into a battlefield and die. They want to do things in 2s, and they're staying true to their form.
I will say, Targon's pick looked pretty good for Koko Lopez in that game as well. Makes sense. They did bring that battlefield to bear. Not going to have that option. Now it's going to be only Annie that can really do the tempoing of developing and readying some runes, which again is the kind of the maximum the entire deck is built around, is stack deck. Going to get deployed here on Prismaticism's side. Rek'Sai Breacher, though, deployed on the other. And Koko Lopez, I think, doing what you want to be doing in this Draven matchup. If you believe that your units are generally bigger and better, just being a bit more patient, developing them while there isn't a lot of pressure in the game right now, feels to me like the right thing to do.
Well, also, both times it was a cheap Noxus Hopeful. So anytime that you can pay 2 and get a 4 might on the board, you kind of want to do it because you're just generally going ahead at that point. And I like this from Prismaticism. Wants to play the flash now so that you don't have to worry about a hard bargain potentially blowing you out. I was going to say earlier, the stack deck from Prismaticism obviously signals we weren't going to see the Conquer plus Forerunner combo that we've seen in the past. And if that's going to be the case, you want to get your points, but then keep your units safe.
I like that that's been so prevalent throughout this weekend that you've called that a combo. Conquer, reinforce my battlefield with Ferris Forerunner. That's a combo, folks.
Hey, when it comes to these Ferris Forerunner decks, that's as close to a combo as you're going to get.
That's pretty true. There is hopeful of Prismaticism's own gets deployed, and kind of the fun in between 3 runes gets left up here, which means that could be any of the 2 energy spells or a Rengar coming through. And you don't have to play Rengar to a battlefield. If you get an action window, you can just play it to your base as an extra unit. And again, on offense, Rengar is 5 might. That is a lot of extra power.
So that's what I was referring to last game. There was a situation where Koko could have went to a battlefield, and I'd mentioned playing Rengar. I did not mean in defense of the battlefield, but just to your base.
Yeah.
Sometimes utilizing those extra runes from Annie on your on your opponent's turn for something like a Rengar is like ramping up.
Hiding a card. Kaisa being played, not accelerated again, wanting to keep it a little safer in the backline. And last time the hidden card was Switcheroo. Could also be a tie turner, but I have a guess that the hidden card is once again Switcheroo.
Maybe.
That's my guess. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying that's what I'm guessing, Charmer. 3 points apiece, though.
With something like a tie turner, you could maybe send that Noxus Hopeful over to the other Noxus Hopeful and swap them just for jazz.
You could send the Rek'Sai in, too. And then it would be a 4, same as the Noxus Hopeful.
Well, not on defense.
Oh, it doesn't work? It doesn't count as attacking when you swap them? No. I guess there's only one attacker. You're right. Feels bad, man. Assault doesn't trigger. Even though you're heading in, ultimately you're heading out. Feels bad. Poor Rek'Sai just being chilling in the base. It's Prismaticism, 3 points apiece, but has the opportunity to obtain more points. And as I mentioned, we are playing 2-9 this game. So it is still win in 2s, but the numbers are going to be odd instead of even. I know. Throws everyone off in the final game of the day. But it's all right. We'll make it through together. So looking for maybe to try and get points 4 and 5. Would love to, but what does it cost you to get that there? 2 runes open on the other side. Number of cards to work with in the hand. And the first deep think of this final game from Prismaticism.
This is an interesting position to be in just because the 2 runes could signal a number of things from Koko Lopez, the same way that it means potential plays from Annie. Rebuke is still a playable card. Switcher can still be played from hand. There's all sorts of options. On top of that, you keep pointing out there is the hidden card on the one side. I was just about to say, so you might see something like a Hopeful going in just to trade if you think it's a switcheroo because it's now just not effective.
Yeah, I kind of like that here. Just looking to trade it off and basically take out the unit and the hidden card and do a bit of damage, maybe move back in with Kai'Sa, and it is, oh no, it's Tide Turner! The one time you don't want it to be Tide Turner, it is in fact Tide Turner. Could swap over to the other battlefield, could get Rek'Sai in, I guess, but I don't think either of those things are particularly interesting. I think it's just an extra unit to try and hold down the fort.
And so now the question is, does Prismaticism have an answer in the form of something like a cleave? Perhaps that's why they were okay with sending this in. Or is this going to be a situation where perhaps there's a ride the wind to send it in another direction to save it?
Yeah, Spinning Axe as well, kind of the big one in Draven when they leave open 2 runes. Did see it be pretty effective in the last game. I guess the thought here might be swapping in the Hopeful just so Kai'Sa Survivor doesn't get, I guess should just go top then, so that doesn't actually matter. You can't get 2 full might units on both these battlefields. So Kai'Sa is presumably going to have a soft-ish target to assault eventually, but it looks like this Kai'Sa might be moving on in.
Yeah. So
Again, I guess
it's
that's the way to do the thing I said.
What do you think that you're having to potentially play around on the side of Prismaticism? Now, Prismaticism also could, I was going to say, just let this go, take out the Kai'Sa, and then opt to go back in with something else. So patient play, making sure you get rid of the premier target. I like this so far because of the Tide Turner. I think Prismaticism wanted to see a switcheroo and just get that value, kind of call the bluff, but sometimes you have to make an omelet from your broken eggs.
Certainly do. And one of the things is you can't afford to do that too many times in this matchup because Draven did win a combat. Koko Lopez drawing a card out of that exchange as well for winning a combat. So while you can test the waters every now and then, and you do want to kind of poke and prod to see what the cards might be, you don't want to do it too much because giving any deck too many free cards is a bad time. I can tell you that much. Unless it's me. Give me all the cards. I'll appreciate that at least. It's Prismaticism thinking. Kind of the same situation, right? I guess now it's 2 format units instead. Wants to really get this Kai'Sa somewhere to conquer to draw another card.
Yeah, and the other problem is Koko still has those 2 runes available. So if you were hoping to get something from hand instead, you did not.
I think the other thing is that even if you do commit Kai'Sa and something else, right? Because there has to be something else to win the combat, get the conquer, and put Kai'Sa, make sure Kai'Sa gets the point. What do you have left, right? Is that a little too exposed in the situation? It only gets you 1 point. You can't get the double conquer, so it is going to be Longsword committed here. That's going to be 6 might to 4. But again, the 2 runes are open, and it is going to be Rebuke. That is savage. Is there a hard bargain in answer? Doesn't look like it from what I can see, and Kai'Sa going to go back to hand here.
And that is maybe worst case scenario for Prismaticism. It was the Tide Turner instead of the switcheroo. It was a Rebuke that was on hand with the 2 runes that were up. Could still equip the longsword and send in the fan, but there's no reason to, right? You're still only at 4. You're not going to win anything without, yet again, expending another card.
Yep, and again, Draven also drew another card, that Rebuke, winning a combat there with the Hopeful still at the battlefield. Now, one of the lines open is accelerating Kai'Sa and basically doing it again. That would require you recycling 2 runes, 2 Fury runes in order to re-equip that longsword, but if that was the play you wanted to make to begin with, it may still be worthwhile to do so, because now you know the coast is cleared. There are no runes left up.
I think counting out options available, slid 4 to one side. If you're still considering going on offense and you have the 4, maybe the consideration is something like a Rek'Sai with the Accelerate.
Yeah, I think just in general, have to be worried about the crackback here. Rek'Sai, Breacher in base, Tide Turner still back in base, safe to contribute 2 might. Is going to be 1 recycle. It is Rek'Sai Breacher. That also has Accelerate, as you mentioned. Longsword going to get equipped, and in we go. 3, 4, 5, 6 might total thanks to Rek'Sai's Assault 1, and 5 on defense, which is pretty good. Rek'Sai Breacher not normally all that good at defending, and Overzealous Fan's going to reinforce, and so is the second one, trying to build a little fort down here at the Aspirant's Climb.
Prismaticism says, I know that Draven has fans, but so does the Queen. Rek'Sai is going to sit on this Aspirant's Climb with an entourage in tow to hopefully fend off against the opposing Rek'Sai. Tide Turner that you were talking about in the base. Now Koko goes up to 4 points at the start of the turn because of the hold and has 6 runes available a fistful of cards thanks to all of those won combats.
Yeah, no card draw either is kind of the other downside of this line from Prismaticism. Kai'Sa obviously a great unit to conquer with. She does draw you a card and get you extra value as you move through. But Rek'Sai, a bit more of a robust unit here, especially alongside these other overzealous fans. And of course, the Accelerator on Kai'Sa would have been too expensive to make this exact play. So pretty good defense set up here, but there's still answers available. That looks suspiciously like 6 energy.
What costs 6 energy?
Ferris Forerunner costs 6 energy. Up to the top we go. Hanging out in the arena with Noxus Hopeful.
You know,
how many times do you think we've said Ferris Forerunner this weekend, by the way? Titan
At least 4.
Says okay. Yeah, it just seemed like it. This time, no fan activation. Just trades off with one of them. Decides that that Titaner is just fine.
Well, it's one of those situations where if you activate the fan, your opponent keeps their 2-might unit and you lose yours. If you just let it trade, you both lose your 2-might unit. There's almost never any incentive to activate it there unless you're really worried about some sort of buff or counterplay, but with all of the runes already expended for the Forerunner, you're just going to take the outcome.
I thought I was going to ask you, do you think it's worth waiting on using the runes for the Forerunner there, just for the bluff at least?
I love a good bluff.
You do love a good bluff. Titan could have run in earlier, but likely some other consideration there I'm maybe not getting, but that's okay. We'll awaken, go to 5 points of Prismaticism. Is it a point where Annie does like to be up just barely in the points race? You only need to win by 1 sometimes, Charmer, and Prismaticism does have the lead.
And notably, on an odd number, which, again, all weekend long we've talked about how the important numbers are typically even, but this is an aspirant's climb game. So this 5 is as good as a normal 4. So you want to be on the odds going forward if possible so that you can go from 5 to 7, 7 to 9, and then close out the game. And we see the Ferris Forerunner developed by Prismaticism in the base. A pullback of the units. Koko will score from the hold and has an open battlefield on the other side, could be taking the lead.
I kind of like this though from Prismaticism. I think a common play pattern we saw against Draven in earlier metagames where Draven was even more prevalent is that you don't really want to give Draven opportunities for combat if you don't have to. And that's an interesting decision to me because it's even right now on points, but you're kind of giving the open lane, if you will, for your opponent to get the lead on points. And with a Forerunner already entrenched in that top battlefield, it does feel like potentially a risky thing to offer up. And indeed, Rek'Sai Breacher is going to roll on in, and Prismaticism is going to say, yep, I'm not going to play Rengar in this spot. It doesn't even win this battle one-on-one, even if you have nothing else. So you can go to 6 points. But Prismaticism clearly valuing the might in the base to try and make a much bigger play to win on the following turn.
Well, there's 2 things to consider here when you're doing that risk calculation. The first is this is only taking Koko to 6 points.
It's a climb game.
This is one of those things where it's a climb game, so it's less important. The other thing to consider as well is that Prismaticism is down to 3 cards in hand. We know Draven has a bunch because of those 1 combats. We saw a game lost by Prismaticism against Alan's EQ in the previous set because he ran out of cards. Alan kind of attritioned him out, and I think that he's just trying to not risk that. You want to stay in the game with your options, keep things available, and so I think that when you do that risk calculation, giving up a point that's not what would normally be the even points in an aspirant's climb, technically you want to be the odd points. I think this is worth it.
I do think at a high level you're right. On a long time horizon, that favors this Draven deck for sure. That is a deck that is happier to grind you out, to really try and attrition you, and just again use that card quality in a longer game. And Aspirant's Climb does make games a touch longer. In this instance, it is again the same with Arena's Greatest being the other battlefield, but you just have to remind yourself sometimes, because sometimes the commentators forget that the thing they said 5 times already is still true, because battlefields don't really go anywhere, at least not until the next set. Thanks, Ivan. As Beast below the backbreaker from the last game is going to happen once more. Bouncing the Rek'Sai, bouncing the Forerunner. Doesn't even have to be at the battlefield like Rebuke. It just gets sent straight back to hand.
And as you said before, that was a backbreaker the last time it hit the table. Looks to be the same this time, because not only is it the biggest unit from Prismaticism put back into the hand, but 8 more might onto the battlefield for Koko Lopez. That is a whopping 14 sitting on the Arena's Greatest at the moment.
So curious what the approach is here. Still only a point behind, but it feels a little bit worse than that. If it was a step ahead earlier, it's a step and then a step behind. Now it feels like a step and a half, and that little inch might be the thing that tips this game in the balance for Koko, Lopez, and Draven may well win yet another regional qualifier here in Atlanta, but we still have a number of turns left to play in Prismaticism. This is a tough one to try and think through, because it's not just, what do I do this turn? What am I trying to deploy? What am I trying to develop? What is happening on the subsequent turns? What do I do against the 14 might up top with the first Forerunner? What do I do with my unit that got bounced yet again by this Beast below?
Yeah, you said it might be going from a step to a step and a half behind. I would argue it's going to a beast-sized step behind, because, again, that seems to be the all-star so far in this matchup. Even if Prismaticism manages to close the gap that just created, it is proving to be monumental so far.
Little sip of water. Everyone have a stretch, reset. Start thinking, how do we approach this game?
We're going to get our first ever mid-game set of push-ups.
Could be. If there was ever a time to pull out the dark technology, it would be in the final game of the regional qualifier, the one that determines the champion of this entire 1,600 player plus tournament.
And after all of that thought, the decision is a rebuke onto the Ferris Forerunner. Says, I have Beast at home.
That is so good. Switcheroo. We talked about how 8 Might is so unapproachable, but Switcheroo literally turns the tables. Overzealous Fan going to get the point. Rek'Sai going to get another. And now Prismaticism is at 7 points. That is, we're threatening to win. We have reached the end game first.
And on top of that is going to end this turn by playing the Annie, getting a spell of choice back.
Well.
The choice is likely going to be Flash, still making that decision.
Can't rebuke.
Then, yeah, could be Rebuke, could be Switcheroo.
Can't play Rebuke is part of the problem. So I don't think you want to pick it, even though you could. No extra Chaos power to pay that with your runes. And so going to get the thing that Annie almost always gets, it feels like in this deck. The marquee spell, this signature spell that's not a real signature spell for Annie. It is Flash.
Now, that last sequence was incredibly important because the Switcheroo going on the Beast below means it can't be replayed. The Rebuke onto the Forerunner and then using the Switcheroo on the other side is critical. Now, Koko does have the Hopeful, but has to figure out a way to navigate the current board state.
And that's the thing, Forerunner, it's a wonderful unit. It's maybe the best unit in the game. It's certainly one of the best units in this tournament. But right now, it's too slow. It doesn't have Accelerate, it doesn't come in ready. It's all this value, but only if anything happens, and there might not be enough points left in this game for it to do anything.
And that's why Koko is digging with this stacked deck, trying to find the answers. Again, such a beautiful setup from Prismaticism. Like I said, it's the build your Beast below at home in that interaction, and Koko is now looking to build his own monster to crack back. This is the final moments likely in game 3 of the finals of our regional qualifier here in Atlanta. Prismaticism, as you pointed out, at 7. This is a climb game, so has to get 2 more points to win, but is still within striking distance.
And the thing is, Koko needs 3 more points to win, which means this turn is not a turn that Draven can win. So not only do you have to stop this from happening, you can't overextend yourself so much that you basically checkmate yourself on the following turn anyway.
And known information. Because of the Annie played, you know that the Flash is there. As you pointed out, you have to stop the win from occurring, but you can't overcommit resources, and you know that Prismaticism has the capability to save these units, but you still can't just avoid combat with them. You have to push them off the battlefields. So it's going to feel bad no matter what happens. And with the axe coming down, Prismaticism opts to just flash the Rek'Sai. You can still leave the fan because that can push if necessary. You still had the Annie in base, so you have a backup unit to go to both sites if necessary.
Yeah, flash in reactions, I love that. Actually, with the spinning axe coming down, just says, you know what, I'm going to save my Rek'Sai right now. Going to push back your Rek'Sai, so now the battlefield up top is open, and the bottom is open as well. There's a hidden card, but Prismaticism going to awaken everything, going to have 5 runes available. I mean, if you can find the line, if he has the means, the win is on the table potentially.
Yeah, the big story I think right now is that Koko has no runes ready. So yes, there's a hidden card, but if Prismaticism could have found something like a Rebuke, it might have been game. However, we might see a situation where that lack of Chaos runes comes into play. As you pointed out, wouldn't be able to have played it last turn, channeled 2 red runes this turn. That might complicate things for Prismaticism.
7 might on the bottom battlefield. The top one is open. It's there for the taking. The arena's greatest can be waltzed on in at any moment. But you can't divide your might and still win the combat. And again, that hidden card. Switcheroo, Tide Turner, I mean, Edge of Night. There's a few things in these cards. It is open deckless, so again, Prismaticism will know what the options are. I don't think it's more, it's not many more than 2 hidden cards, I believe. I think it's 2 or 3. It might only be 2, but...
Are you telling me that there's no Windsinger in this list?
There might be a Windsinger. I don't know. I haven't looked at the deck list.
No, there's not. Spoiler alert.
Okay, you did look. That's good. At least one of us did. So, I mean, look, we can do a little bit of math right now. Rek'Sai on offense with the longsword, 6 might when she goes in to attack. Annie, 3. Not bad, honestly, for kind of a utility-style champion.
I think the decision is going to really just come down to what does Prismaticism have as potential options? Because, again, before we saw him try to call the bluff on what he thought was a switcheroo and said, hey, if it's a Tide Turner, I'm just kind of hosed. If there was something like a cleave available, they could have outplayed that, but...
Little rewind.
Yeah, a little rewind. There was an accelerated Kaisa and a push there for a moment.
Yeah, so that would be 6-4, that'll be 10. 10 on 7 versus Tide Turner would be good. Switcheroo, I think, is going to ruin the day no matter... Although, actually, that's not true, because it's 7. Switcheroo is a little Orkies here. Because what do you want to switch with?
Yeah, that is a good...
You have no other units. It is Tide Turner. I don't think that's enough. Oh, Rek'Sai is the one coming in. But that is 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 10 total. That's going to be enough for a trade. And there's nothing else for a Prism here. Yeah. So everything is going to just fall off here. And Annie, does she even care about walking into a battlefield for a point? It doesn't really make that much of a difference. Although you can threaten to win by holding, I suppose. Force you to come in.
I was going to say, I think that the decision that you have to make now in this situation is if you leave both open and your opponent has any sort of accelerate and you don't have some sort of reaction speed answer with your runes up, you're kind of just giving it up. You want to make them work for it a little bit harder. So yeah, ultimately Prismaticism agrees, says I need to put some might here so that it's not just free if you have something like a Rek'Sai or like a Kaisa.
Both players running low on resources. Tide Turner can walk in to the bottom battlefield and get point number 8, but we are climbing this game. Both players all weekend long grinding it out. We are walking up the stairs step by step.
So Tide Turner could walk in and get 8. However, Prismaticism's already at 8. So if you do not deal with the Annie, this is the other reason that you had to put it there, because if Koko Lopez cannot break this, you will win through holding. This is a make or break moment.
Trying to extend the game a few more turns. And again, thinking through, we know about the flash. Still, do we remember that it's still there? Probably wrote it down, which is a good thing to do. You can take notes in Riftbound. Over here instead, actually going to challenge, and that feels like it sends alarm bells over. There's Rebuke. And there's this stacked deck is actually going to be the play. That's true, you actually have to wait. It's not a reaction, it's only an action. So stacked deck does happen here. Going to get a look at a few cards, but that Annie is rebuked. Back to hand, picks up a card. 5 runes and so after this awaken, it's really tough to find a spot where you can get something done here.
I was just about to say, so the real question now is whether or not the Rek'Sai was the other play. But I believe that might have just been a pass.
I think so. It kind of looked like one. Going to 8 points now is Koko Lopez. Both players literally 1 point away from being the regional qualifier Atlanta champion.
1 point away. Game 3 of the finals.
Couldn't ask for much better than this.
To get here.
Hasn't passed yet, by the way.
Hasn't passed yet.
2 energy. Reinforce. Fan. Nox is hopeful.
Hopeful. Okay.
Threaten to hold. Only need 1 point at this point. Double Conquer seems really tough in this spot. If you're Prismaticism, drawing a card, what do we have?
No. Prismaticism channeled 2 more red runes once again, so this is going to be incredibly limiting on any options for pushing off of this battlefield unless you come in with might. That being said,
Rek'Sai plus Cleave?
Rek'Sai could be something that could get the job done. Rengar has put in work so far, so if you could...
Ooh, Rengar would be good. There's Rek'Sai accelerated. In we go. That's just 6. This is trading up right now. Prismaticism says that's good enough. I don't have very many options left.
You can't win if you lose, so you at least have to stop what's on the board. And we are hitting a point where I can't imagine what it's like for the players. I am breathless just watching this.
Forerunner's finally back. We talked about it. Wasn't enough time earlier to replay it, but it is going to come back down.
I am curious if the Forerunner is because you're worried about removal here, or if there was maybe some other reason why Draven from the Champion Zone wasn't the play, just because that is a large number of might in an Aspirants game, but it is the Forerunner here.
I thought about Showboat as well, but going to stay in the tank. I mean, the removal that's going to hit the Forerunner is mostly stuff that's not going to trigger the death knell anyway. But, I mean, a little bit more efficient use of your runes, perhaps, using all 6. And this is going to be a tough one. I will note, I mean, I guess there is Accelerate unit, so it's not safe to leave the Forerunner here, or at least not have a way to maybe answer it in Showdown. But you also have to advance your game plan. Like, you need to put some units on the board. You need to threaten to try and conquer.
This is an interesting situation for both players because you need some board presence. You need a double conquer or a hold, and you're at least a few actions away from that in both scenarios.
Certainly are. Prismaticism deep in thought, trying to figure out what do I have left. Smiles exchanged by both players. They know it's close, but who's going to take it? That is the real question. 2 runes. Nope. Taking them back. Again, very, very tough to find a way to navigate through this game.
Yeah, that's a lot of might on that Ferris Forerunner, and it was big enough that if Prismaticism develops something here, it has to likely still be able to contest with that Forerunner, right? Because if Koko is able to walk into one side and then just sit, you have to go over top. And that's not even counting what happens if Koko does still have the Accelerate unit as an option, and if you don't do something to stop it now, you could walk the Forerunner into one spot, Accelerate into the other. Prismaticism, I think, is asking to see the bin, likely wants to see how many of the Accelerate units have already been played, looking for Kaisas, looking for a Rek'Sais, things of that nature.
Good habit to get into, especially late in a game, especially late and deep in a series in this final. Looking through what do your opponent have left. Prismaticism, as you'll notice, leaves his trash very nicely splayed to check the options at a glance. Also makes my job easier, which I appreciate.
Between the 2 days of this regional qualifier, we are officially at the end of hour number 25 of Riftbound.
Traveling Merchant is the decision here. 2 energy committed for a unit. But again, it's going to be I think it is actually effectively impossible for Prismaticism to win this turn. It is mostly trying not to lose and still set up a win following that.
I think it's absolutely just trying to not lose the next turn, hoping that there's not an Accelerate unit that you can't stop.
So does Koko Lopez have something here? 4, 5, 6, 7 runes. Forerunner goes over. There's Ride the Wind. We're trying to go over with the Traveling Merchant and sneak away a point here.
Oh, if this sticks and Lopez does not either have an answer for it or an Accelerate unit to get in there, then Prismaticism will win on the hold come the next turn.
That's true. Sneaking one in, but still 7 runes open. Again, this conquer by the first Forerunner, which is still in the process of happening, by the way. It hasn't quite happened yet.
Right.
We'll draw a card, but it can't win.
In the showdown,
exactly.
In this situation, and because it's an action, it has to be done now. You can't wait for like a reaction window later, but this is the all-in play, I think, from Prismaticism, saying, look, I don't think I can go over this, so I'm going to try to steal one and just hope that there's no answer.
We're queuing up battlefields. This is the fun one, but here we go. First things first. Conquer happens. They actually both draw a card because they're both at the winning point but cannot win.
Exactly. They're both at 8, need to go to 9. So on what would be Conquers, they draw a card.
Falling Star. That's very good.
Star.
Is that enough? Rengar goes in! Is that going to be enough? Rengar occupying the battlefield. Does Koko Lopez have anything left after that? Prismaticism is out of runes.
Kitty has been so good all weekend long. And because the Falling Star has to choose the targets, Rengar is now there free. Does Koko have the rebuke in this instance? No, shows it!
That's Prismaticism with Rengar! The innovation in this Annie deck got it done!
Wow! I thought for sure that Prismaticism had a huge hill to climb with that Ferris Forerunner staring him down. He played the lowly Merchant, didn't even put the longsword on it, just said, hey, I'm playing possum over here.
I'm just a little guy.
And then capitalized by jumping on it with the showdown and then having the Rengar as the backup in case there was a rebuke or a falling star or whatever the case may be. What a beautifully played game. Prismaticism has been consistently better every event that he has attended, but has finally got the monkey off his back, got the big win he's been looking for.
Starting to make a case for one of the best Riftbound players in the world, approaching that top spot where his teammates tend to occupy a lot of that conversation. He is well and truly in the throes of that chatter now in the early days of Riftbound. An incredible victory stolen away.
I said to you while we were on our break, I am inspired by this Annie deck. It makes me want to play it. I've been watching Prismaticism play it, and I just go, this looks fun. This looks good. I like the longswords. I love the Rengars. They have been great all weekend long. They come in the most clutch you could be in the biggest moment of the event. I'm so happy for Prismaticism.
You talked about it. Players learn to play around Defy, learn to play around Noctiverse, learn to play around Rebuke, learn to play around Cleave, learn to play around Falling Star. All these things that Riftbound has developed, but Hard Bargain, that's been kind of a sore spot. But the players, they're figuring it out. You know what they haven't figured out how to play around yet? Rengar. And this is the thing that this Annie deck does that Draven cannot do.
You know, you mentioned the hard bargain thing. We've seen hard bargain be incredible all weekend long. It's almost like Prismaticism went one step ahead of the developing meta, because you know what you can't hard bargain? Rengar.
You know what's coming on Unleashed? Rengar.
More Rengar. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's an absolutely thrilling final. I mean, we had so many 3-game sets. You could not ask for better Riftbound. You could not ask for tighter margins. And I think you could ask for a more deserving champion. What an incredible showcase by both these players. Draven so close to winning another regional qualifier, but undone in the same domains by the Dark Child.
I don't even know what to say. It's so weird because, again, all weekend long, not to toot my own horn, I have said that I thought Aurelia as a legend had a good chance to win, but if I'm picking based on the player, I think Prismaticism has this event won. Prismaticism, thank you. You have proven me to be a genius. But now that it's happened, like, I am literally breathless, because it wasn't even just like, oh, he steamrolled in. He fought for it every step of the way. In this top 8, the games against Colin, tight. The games against Allen, tight. There, game 3, down to the wire. No margins left for error. And it just goes to show that it is capable, or players can be capable of overcoming almost any obstacle if you just play to your outs.
That game looked impossible to win.
Yeah.
Like, actually impossible. Rune disadvantage completely. Shredded all the runes, recycling them. Had to use Switcheroo and Rebuke in the final turn just to stay in the game and set up a possible win. Don't know how he found that line to begin with.
Yeah.
And then with 5 runes and a Traveling Merchant and nothing but, you know, a hope and a prayer, there was a line.
It's almost...
I didn't think Rengar was coming out of the hands.
I can't wait till we
I could see the hands.
I can't wait till we get to the interview portion, because I want to know if Switcheroo only came in for game 3 after the Beast Below blew him out in game 2 as well, because that was the moment where he started to come back. I thought the Beast Below was going to be the back-breaking moment, but he did the build your Beast Below at home with the Switcheroo plus the Rebuke, and then put himself in position. We talk about it time and time again. You just need to get yourself into a position to strike. Was the first one to the 7-point on the climb game, then got to 8 to try to get this sneaky hold win off the ride to win. Again, we talk about knowing your path to victory. This is knowing your path and then some.
Yes, it is. And the thing is, even in that spot, there is 4 runes, still 4 or 5 actually, I think, available for Koko Lopez. There were a lot of options. There were many things you lose to. He went through the bin, kind of, you know, calculated the odds and said, you know what, I'm not going to win if I don't do it, so I might as well try.
Well, and the thing is when he showed the hand at the end, there was a hard bargain. I think that Koko was kind of banking on, okay, if there's like a Rebuke or something, I have the hard bargain. But like I said, you can't hard bargain the kitty. Rengar came in clutch.
Certainly did. I'm now thinking, how many runes were up when Ride the Wind was played?
I believe there was 4 exactly, because it was either 4 or 3, because we know he at least played the Rengar after the fact, right? There might have been 4, and so he thought, okay, perhaps he could pay for the repeat, or maybe even with the 3-up, it was enough where he said, I don't want to play it and have him pay.
Oh, it's the Falling Star, that's why.
Oh, yeah, it was the Falling Star.
That's the Falling Star. So you can't even do it.
Can't even do it.
All right, well, with that, we are going to go down to our winner. Prismaticism has finally done it, so let's hear from the winner himself.
Everybody, I am here with the Atlanta Riftbound Regional Qualifier Champion, Prismaticismism. Congratulations. Yes, let's make some noise. My word, you top 8 in Bologna, top 8 in Las Vegas, top 4 in Lille, but now you are top 1. You fought through over 1,500 participants here in Atlanta in the main event. Kind of give me some vision here. What's going through your mind? How are you feeling?
You're making me start shaking. You're saying those numbers like that. Like it always feels like climbing a mountain almost, where every single game is one step higher, another pile of bodies left behind, and then you just go after day one, already so high up, still have a lot of rounds left. And then I think at previous regionals when I got to top 8, that felt like I got to the top, and then I let off the gas a bit, and it's taken some practice and experience to be able to push past that.
Absolutely, and you showed that you have that experience, that mental fortitude, and you did overcome. But I kind of want to ask you, what was it like? What did you do, or what didn't you do to get here to the top 1 spot this time?
I mean, I did push-ups against Colin after I lost game 1. That was a good choice. And then I think I got in his head a bit because he did push-ups after game 2, so that was great. And I managed to keep my emotions under control. I think I got a bit sad at the end of game 3. I did make a misplay in that game, but I still kept my head in the game, and I found the one out that I had to be able to win still.
Absolutely, you kept your head in the game, and I just want to point out, you have so many people here surrounding you, cheering you on, supporting you. Is there anything you want to say? I kind of want to open the floor to you. Is there anything you want to say to the people that are cheering you on, that helped you get here, or even to the people who are aspiring to be in your shoes at a future regional qualifier?
Yeah, I mean, big shout out to Alan, big practice partner, teammate, supporting me a lot through everything. And shout out to the rest of my teammates on, I guess we're Team Stratagem unofficially, but all of them. And shout out to the community. Everyone has been amazing. Like, I haven't had a single, basically ever a bad experience with an opponent or anyone. Always happy to talk about the game afterwards, talk about decks, just cheer each other on. It's been amazing.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to hold you back any longer. The time has finally come. We're going to present to you the Riftbound Regional Qualifier trophy. Go ahead and lift your head high, lift that trophy up. Congratulations to Prismaticismism. And we're gonna send it back to you, casters. Go ahead and close us out here.